Hi and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is a review of the following episode 4. Now, I'm quickly losing interest in this show. I was actually quite bored in this episode, to be quite honest with you. You have two kind of plot lines going on at the same time here, and the main plot line involving Kevin Bacon, I have to be honest, was quite boring, and it's getting quite sort of following what I would think it's going to be the same formula every week, where you're going to kind of have a follower of the week. This time it is the wife of the follower of last week, and it turns out obviously that she's a serial killer as well, and she's wanted for all these sort of unsolved cases. She seems to be sort of probably a bit more of a legitimate threat than some of the other followers, as she has had a sort of, a fairly prolific past of killing a reasonable amount of people. And the story here is you're introduced to Kevin Bacon's sister, who this woman kidnaps and basically wants to exchange for Kevin Bacon, because obviously he killed her husband in the last episode. And in the main plot, obviously, he goes and meets her, and she's all like, "Oh, come alone," and everything. And of course, you have the I think it's Sean Ashmore or Aaron Ashmore, I can never remember which one of those it is. It comes, sort of tags along, and sort of ends up sort of saving the day basically, and obviously rescuing Kevin Bacon and the sister. And that to be quite honest with you, that plotline theme was quite generic. I was genuinely just sort of not being interested, just kind of looking at my phone when I was kind of watching those scenes, because it just didn't hold my interest. It just kind of seems to be going run of the mill to me now. However, I will say the second plotline I find is a lot more interesting, and that's involving the three sort of followers, the two guys that are acting gay, and one of their girlfriends, is a lot more interesting to me. So they've obviously kidnapped Joe Carroll's little boy, and are kind of teaching him to be a serial killer essentially. In last episode, one of the guys went off the rails a little bit and kidnapped this sort of Asian girl, and basically they kind of decided what to do with her in this episode, and they're kind of worried obviously that people are going to start looking around for her, so they decide to kill her. And it turns out that one of the guys is not actually a serial killer at the moment. He hasn't actually killed anyone, and he's sort of kept it a secret. But eventually he sort of comes clean to the other two. The other guy actually knows this, but the girl doesn't know. And she's initially a little bit sort of shocked about it. But they basically task him to kill this girl. Now, in a few flashbacks, and I must say this show does love its flashbacks. You see him admitting this to the showgirl, and basically saying, "Oh, you'll get your chance," basically. And you think this initially, that's what's going to happen. Now, he can't actually do it, so he's actually sort of feeling remorse, and he's, he kind of wants to almost help this girl, and eventually he actually lets her go. And the other two, you think I don't think she was going to get away. I mean, her character hasn't been developed, so you kind of know she's going to die. But the other two obviously chasing after her, and I will say this: I was expecting them to obviously kill them, but what they actually do is bring her back to the house, obviously, so this other guy can kill her. So that was a lot more of an interesting plotline, I thought. And initially, the last few episodes, it seemed though they're sort of the trio of those people, their sort of relationship has kind of been a bit sort of fragmented, and they've been a bit argumentative, because obviously there's a bit of essentially a love triangle, but one of the guys and the girl are both pretty much in love with there's one other guy, and he kind of has had relationships with them both, so it is a love triangle. And what it looks like at the end of this episode is the whole sort of situation with this Asian girl who's tied up in the cellar has actually ended up sort of bringing them closer together. So I think going forwards, they're probably going to be more on the same page. Now, I said their plotline, to me at least, is a lot more interesting. I think they're much more interesting characters. Kevin Bacon character, I'll be quite honest, seems very, very one note to me. I'm not really enjoying that side of the story. For me personally, they kind of need to do something a little bit more, just a bit more interesting, I think. And it's just so formulaic to me, that side of stuff. If it wasn't for this side of the story, I probably would have not bothered watching it any further. So I'm going to give this episode a 5 out of 10. What did you think of it? How do you feel that the relationship's developing? Leave me a comment, and I look forward to seeing you next time.